Well, here we are, final season of Stranger Things, and I'll be honest, I've been sitting here for probably a good 10-15 minutes. I just cannot think of a way to intro this video. I guess the best I got is it's a good show. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Stranger Things Season 5, Episode 1, The Crawl. So we're finally in the final season. Excited to get into this, see what it's all about. I've tried to avoid as many spoilers as possible. Like I said in my Season 4 review, there's only one thing I know about for this season. I do know a lot of opinions seem to be mixed on this season, so we'll see how I feel about it. I'm trying to go in completely blind to why people feel the way they do. But from this first episode, it's a pretty solid setup. You got all the different pieces being shown where they are, as far as living in the town of Hawkins now, with the military having taken over, Robin and Steve running this radio station, all the kids still going to school, trying to live normal lives. Hopper and Joyce training Eleven, getting her ready so she can take on the military and Vecna whenever he shows up again. They've been doing these crawls for a while, trying to find Vecna. Obviously, this is going to be the first one where something different happens, or else it wouldn't be that interesting. But just to touch on some of the more interesting stories, first of all, we do see for Dustin, seems like he is still hurting after what happened with Eddie. Seems a lot more dark in his mood and trying to pick fights with these bullies. I don't know if he's intending for them to take him out or if he's just kind of accepting it, but it does feel weird that he's putting himself in this dangerous position whenever, he's shown he wants to be one of the ones to take Vecna down. He wants to be there when that happens to get revenge for Eddie. I don't know, it's kind of a weird dichotomy we're seeing from Dustin right now. Unfortunately, we are still seeing some of Jonathan and Steve and Nancy and that whole love triangle that they're setting up. Thankfully, it is kind of played more for laughs here. We see Steve and Jonathan. They don't necessarily hate each other, but you could tell they are trying to show off whenever she's around. That was probably one of the weaker parts of the episode, but at least it was more funny than it was trying to be drama, which it has been in the past. Hopper and Joyce being overprotective of Eleven and Will, kind of not a fan of it, but I understand at the same time. For Hopper, he sees Eleven as basically their ultimate weapon, and he doesn't want to waste her by the military finding her and experimenting on her, all that stuff, before they manage to find Vecna again. So from that point of view, I can understand why he's being so protective of her. But for Joyce, I don't really understand why she's still so protective of Will. I know he's been taken in the past, but he's not the same helpless little kid that he's been before. So I don't really understand why she's still treating him like a child. I guess maybe I can't say too much since I don't have kids of my own, so I'm not speaking from experience or anything. But I will say I do feel bad for Will, that it does feel like she still sees him as a little kid, and he's clearly not anymore. But on the topic of Will, we do see he has this connection with the Demogorgon that's going after Holly. Don't really know where that's coming from. We've seen before he gets the goosebumps on the back of his neck whenever he senses Vecna. But now they're implying that he seems to have even more of a connection than was originally thought. And obviously they do show at the beginning of this episode, whenever he was implanted with what ended up being Dart, or maybe there were several and Dart was just the one that Dustin found. But when he was getting implanted with all of those, maybe that is what caused the connection with Vecna, and now he can sense Demogorgons whenever they're around. I don't know, it's kind of an intriguing thought, and I don't know where they're going to go with it next. But we do see Holly has been talking with an invisible stranger, seem to be implying that it's Vecna trying to get to her. And now, of course, we see the Demogorgon going after her. So I don't know what Vecna's plan is exactly. Maybe he wanted Will to be his host, but since Joyce managed to get the Mind Flayer out of Will, maybe now he's going after Holly instead. I don't exactly know why that would be. There's still a lot of questions I have. For instance, we never quite learned why killing 4 kids in these 4 different spots opened up this gate. It does seem a little random, so maybe there's something where if he has this child host in the real world, like Will was, and now what Holly might be, maybe that's one way he can take over the world. I don't know. They are raising a lot of questions. They've got me very intrigued, and I'm just excited to see how this series is going to come to an end, because it's been enjoyable to get into this, and even though I've sort of rushed through it, I've had a good time along the way. Well, with all that being said, that'll do it for this episode. On to the next one. I'll see you there. And now episode 2, The Vanishing of Holly Wheeler. So I gotta say, brutal start to an episode. I thought for sure that Ted and Karen were just done. I was really shocked about it too, because granted, I am going into this season completely blind. The first 4 seasons, I kind of knew who in the cast was still around based on just some cast photos, interviews I wasn't able to skip quick enough so I could see who was involved. But now that we're in season 5, obviously all of that's off the table, because that could mean anybody is in danger at this point. But even so, it still felt very odd to just see both of the Wheeler parents just so brutally eviscerated. And to the point where I honestly thought they were just both dead. I thought that was it for them. I was really shocked when they were like, no, wait, we're still alive. We're going to take them to the hospital. And Ted's in a coma. Karen's barely alive. It was just a crazy start to the episode. After that, everything moved along pretty well. I'll try to tackle each story individually, starting with probably my least favorite, only because there's just a lot of bickering here, so those tend to be the stories I'm not as much of a fan of. But Steve, Jonathan, and then eventually Dustin, that whole thing, And first of all, we see Steve and Jonathan kind of button heads, because there definitely did seem to be a bit of a, for lack of a better term, dick measuring competition between the two of them. And so when we get to that eventual blow up, Jonathan accusing Steve of trying to be a macho man, Steve kind of throwing it back in Jonathan's face of he's just paranoid. It all does still feel kind of weird, because on the one hand, I do think Jonathan's right. Steve does seem to be trying to show off a bit. I mean, we even saw Steve last season told Nancy that there's a part of him that wanted a future with her still. So the fact that he's like, no, I'm just worried about my friend. Do you really still think of her as a friend, though? Can you honestly say that? But for Jonathan, I mean, he has been acting kind of stupid for the past couple seasons with Nancy. From what I can tell, they still seem to be together. So if she's still choosing you, then you really haven't got anything to be worried about. So I just feel like they're both acting dumb in all of this. And then Dustin shows up. Of course, he's not going to tell Steve what happened. He's probably, one, a little embarrassed, and also two, seems to be pushing everybody else away. I'm just not really a fan of what they've done with his character so far, but I'm sure a lot of it is down to the pain he feels from losing Eddie last season. So I do hope we can rectify that soon and see him turn it back around, because this is not a version of Dustin that I'm particularly fond of. So that whole story, not that it was poorly done, poorly written, poorly acted, it's just not a story that I find fun to watch right now. Second story that was better, but still just kind of meh so far. We'll see where it goes. We see Joyce once again trying to be very overprotective of Will, because he says he can maybe make this connection. She doesn't want him to. So then Robin makes up the flux capacitor thing, which I will say that was a very funny moment. Watching Joyce talk to the guys, is the flux capacitor broken? And the look they gave each other absolutely made me die laughing. But I do like the fact that Robin sort of steps up for Will, gives him a chance to use this new ability that he's found where he can see what Vecna sees. And now that he realizes that he was looking through Vecna's eyes, basically, I do wonder how he's going to be able to utilize that. My best guess is that since Eleven can't seem to connect with him because of this wall that I guess is blocking off her powers, it does seem Will has a more direct connection with him, probably because Vecna implanted all of those things inside of him when he was a kid. So I do think that gives him more of a chance of finding Vecna and Vecna's next victim to give them a chance to stop him from taking anybody else. So that story, it was fine. It was just weighed down by the fact that Joyce is still being a bit overprotective, in my opinion. But let's move on to the other two stories, which I thought were mostly good. We see Hopper and Eleven in this one. Hopper, of course, being very concerned about the fact that she was just out in public, probably caught on camera, which we find out she was. But I like the fact that in this one, we actually get to see a little bit more depth with Hopper in that sense. Because I think we saw him being overprotective of Eleven in season 3. But I think now we're starting to see a little bit more, not just why he's overprotective, but also why he can't seem to find it in himself to trust her. Because obviously he wants to protect her because he thinks of her as a daughter. But we're also seeing that he sees a lot of himself in her. And he doesn't want her to make some of the mistakes he did when he was younger. And I think that's a very good choice. It shows a lot more where he's coming from, and not just I'm an overprotective parent, kind of what we saw with Joyce. He's also coming at it from a sense of, I've been where you are. I don't want you to make the mistakes I did. So yeah, very well done scene there. The emotions were really well handled. And them finding this giant wall, it does set up for kind of a good test for this season. How are they going to get over or around or through it? Especially since it does seem to be blocking off Eleven's ability to find Vecna in all of this. Tied in with that, don't really know much about this doctor yet. I think they said Dr. K. She doesn't look familiar, so I don't think we've seen her before, but she is connected with the military. I'm not really sure what she's searching for Eleven for, because I know the military assumed Eleven was the one attacking a lot of these people, but now that they've found this other world, and on top of that, just looking at the camera, you could see Nancy is the one driving her back to the Wheelers' home. So I don't know why you would assume that Eleven's the one responsible for kidnapping Holly and what happened to the Wheeler parents. If that were the case, why would Nancy drive her there? I will be curious to see what this Dr. K wants to do. Also, we've not seen Owens, so we still don't really know what the military did with him. Hopefully he's still alive out there somewhere. But the final story, which was my personal favorite, was everything to do with Mike and Nancy in this one. It's so funny because in the first season we had that moment where they did get to be brother and sister right at the end of the season whenever they were helping Eleven set up for her bath and everything. It was a really nice moment between the two of them. We've not really gotten many moments between them since then. I mean, in the last season, Mike was all the way across the country, so of course we couldn't get any scenes between them then. But even in season 2 and 3, really wasn't much about them being siblings. This does feel like an appropriate time to bring them back together as siblings, though. With both parents attacked, on the verge of death. It was just nice to see them working together again, and it's something that I hope sticks through for the rest of this season, because I really do like watching the two of them not just work together, but also bond in all of this. Yeah, from the first 2 episodes, I'm excited. I think it's a good setup, raising a lot of questions, bringing a lot of new information to light, and still keeping the focus on where I think it should be, which is all of these main characters trying to work together to stop Vecna from whatever his plans are to destroy the world, basically. But with all that being said, those are my thoughts, so cue the outro. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that review. I hope you enjoyed it. First and foremost, please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I love having discussions with people, so whatever your thoughts were, whether you agree or disagree with me, please leave them down below. Obviously, no spoilers. Also, if you did find yourself enjoying this review and you want to see more, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I also have a gaming channel as well as a channel where I talk about soccer, so if you want to give those a follow as well, that would be much appreciated. And lastly, if you want to help me improve upon the quality of these channels, I do have a Patreon. All of this is in the description below. With all that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace out.